Hello, everybody. Welcome to the full moon and the summer solstice. So it's exciting because these things are coinciding. Now, a lot of the time, you might think that a full moon is going to fall on the summer solstice because the sun is in Capricorn, as the sun's in Cancer and the moon's in Capricorn. But that's not always how it works. The solstice is based on the day the sun enters Cancer, which is usually the 21st of June. The full moon isn't necessarily based on that. Sometimes the sun can enter Cancer and the full moon might go, a few days before, a few days after. The thing with the full moon, as you hopefully have, been watching my videos and learned, is that the full moon always is the moon sign, and the full moon is opposite to the sun sign that it's in right now. Full moon in Gemini, sun is in Sagittarius. Full moon in Scorpio, sun is in Taurus. So full moon in Capricorn, sun is in Cancer. But it doesn't always happen the same day that the sun goes into Cancer. So this is a really big deal to me for the full moon. This hasn't happened since 1967 in the West. I think that's pretty amazing because we're talking about 57 years. That's a lot. That's a big cycle. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens for us if you're feeling some big changes in the air. And you might be. Cancer and Capricorn are both leadership signs. They're cardinal signs. They take action. You don't mess with either of them, generally. Now, maybe there's been things that have been building up for a long time and you're ready to act on them. Maybe the universe hands you a surprise. But if you are honest, you can say, you know what, whatever, this job, maybe something happens and you have to change job, you have to change, you realize the relationship isn't working. You might just be finally ready to say, you know what, I've been wanting to do this big trip all my life. Why am I waiting? I've been wanting to make some huge lifestyle changes. Now I think I have the will to do it. There's lots of great ways that this can play out for everybody. And also because the lead up to this time, from the 10th of June up until the 21st, the full moon, we've had Mars squaring off with Pluto. So you might have really been feeling the buildup of either intensity, sometimes conflict, sometimes a lot of buried anger comes up. And if you're not feeling, oh, no, I'm not really angry. Okay. A lot of people do have pent-up anger in their lives from something. If you don't, wonderful. But I find most of us do. So if you're not in touch with your anger, and it doesn't have to be raging at the world, it could be, processing it from childhood. It can be being angry that life's unfair. Some people channel it through complaining about the politics or getting angry at parking, I don't know, road rage. Some people don't want to feel all that anger about what's unjust or what has not worked out the way they thought. So maybe you're grinding your teeth at night. Maybe you got headaches. Maybe your back is bothering you more. Just since the 10th, just be mindful. What the heck's been coming up for you since the 10th? And it's better to feel it and acknowledge it truly, even if it's uncomfortable, because there might be a big decision or change, announcement, a breakthrough, a big moment in your life if you allow yourself to feel this. So as you see, I have a lot of sage burning right now. I am cleansing my crystals before we start. So before we start the actual full moon reading, I just wanted to mention that I'm not doing mediumship sessions anymore. I still am a medium. It can happen during a tarot clairvoyance or a channeled reading, but I don't want to be in a position of summoning the deceased if they are not naturally just presenting themselves spontaneously. It's a heavy energy over the years. I have another video up here on YouTube if you want to see my sort of farewell to mediumship video. If you're interested in my content, it sure helps when you subscribe. Like and subscribe, and it'd be great if you could share it as well. I would love that. And if any of you are interested in joining my Intuition Cafe, I haven't had an event in a while, but I will be soon. I'll be planning something for July. We meet just to socialize and talk about anything esoteric, metaphysical, and a little bit of practice of your intuition. So it's interesting, as I'm clearing these stones, I've chosen 3 stones that generally you don't have to clear the energy. But for some reason, this one, fluorite, is needing a lot of cleansing. So I might bury it in salt overnight. And I'm bringing out whatever crystals are calling to me for this transition of the solstice, for this transition of changes, decisions that I'm, energies that are changing, to see what stones call me to help me out. If you're somebody who loves gemstones, you might also be feeling called to do this, or to burn some sage as well, or incense. If not, there's nothing stopping you from visiting your local gem shop and see if something called to you that you need that energy right now to help you. So I'll show you the stones that I have chosen here. So this is the fluorite that I mentioned, that normally fluorite does not need cleansing, and this is feeling very sticky, and I've been saging it a few times. So I haven't quite figured out what does that mean right now, because fluorite is usually used for psychic abilities, opening your third eye. Perhaps because I do this work, this little guy has just absorbed too much and is a bit exhausted. So I'm going to put him in some salt and cleanse it, and see if using the fluorite might help with having a vision, having a prophetic dream, having a, trusting your abilities more. I think fluorite also, I'd have to double check, but I think fluorite also has to do with integrating your astral bodies. So that's a whole other video, but a lot of the time we think that problems are just here in the 3D material universe, but they are not. Sometimes things are playing out on other levels energetically. Sometimes a health problem could be literally physical. Sometimes it's emotional. Sometimes it is mental. Sometimes it is in your etheric body. Sometimes it's things going on that are attached to you on other layers energetically. I know, because when I've done Reiki and shamanic healing and helped people with seeing and removing some of these things, they've told me that problems clear up or go away. So there's many layers we're working with, and I think I have my crystal Bible beside me. One second. Is it right here? Yep, there it is. Okay. Crystal Bible. All right, let's see. Thank God it's alphabetical, makes it faster. Fluorite. It's protective on a psychic level, helps you discern when outside influences are at work within yourself, shuts off psychic manipulation and undue mental influence. Well, could be why this guy is feeling a little sticky. Cleanses and stabilizes the aura. Effective against computer and electromagnetic stress. Blocks geopathic stress. Okay. So there you go. This stone sits beside my computer, so maybe it's tired. The next one I'm going to show you is kyanite. I love this one. This is huge. This is a big specimen. Usually you just see like jewelry that has a tiny little sliver of it, of this blue. Sometimes you don't need a huge one like mine. But I can tell you, kyanite is another crystal that doesn't need cleansing. And kyanite will tend to bring you prophetic dreams if you place it by your bed or under your pillow. Every time I have done that, I dream. Sometimes it's too much and I can't keep up with everything I'm perceiving at night. So I take it away. But if I'm called to this, I know it's asking me. There's something that wants to come in my dreams. And last but not least, this one is a special one. You won't be able to find this just everywhere. But some of you, depending where you're watching, might be able to find it. This is a very special stone, special story. This is the red rock from Sedona, Arizona. So I got that in 2013 at a shop when I was visiting there. The red rocks are very, it's very hard. It's very slippy. It's hard for people to climb. And it can break easily. From what I understand, if I remember correctly, it's been like 13 years since I went, or 12. Anyway, the person who carved this angel on the stone in Sedona was one of the very few people who was able to climb to the top without falling. So they thought he had some special abilities. And I look at the angel that he must have seen at the top of the rocks. Sedona's got very magic energy there. And so I feel when this stone calls to me that there's some extraordinary story, maybe a miracle, something good coming. So I keep it with me. If you don't have something like that stone, you might have something else in your life that isn't a gemstone that you feel when you bring it around you, it brings you a much higher energy of optimism and confidence to bring into your life what you need, what you want. So let's take a look at this chart now, shall we? All right. So as usual, just take a look at the formation. Look at the concentration of planets, top, bottom, right, and left. If you see the black lines that are drawing a quadrant from the AC to the descendant, ascendant to descendant, median coli, or the top of the chart, to the IC, imium coli. So what we're seeing is it's very concentrated on the bottom, which, if you recall from watching, means that those are energies we're less conscious of in ourselves as they're working through us. So there's going to be a lot of unconscious emotional stuff going on this full moon. What does that mean? It's like, well, if people are reactive, they might not be really understanding that they're reactive. They might not know why they feel the way they do. They might act out before like really reactive. They might open up and spill the beans and tell you things, that normally they'd hold in. And again, like when it's a lot of emotion under the surface, or a lot of energy under the surface, some people just want to withdraw, pull away and think. Other people want to sleep. Other people, again, like just unconscious cravings and desires and being drawn towards things can happen when it's under the surface. The only thing that's really above the horizon line here is the moon, and the moon is in the 12th house, which is already the house of the unconscious again. The moon in the 12th house, this is, for North America, is not an easy place. So it's very hard to get in touch with how you feel with the moon in the 12th house. It might, if you have that natally, it could take you years or a lifetime before you really understand what you feel and what you need, because you tend to suppress it for others. And the moon in Capricorn is usually pretty serious and solitary, and it's sitting there in the 12th house. Again, I feel a lot of people will probably crave some solitude and alone time during this full moon period. Some people might just feel like they're laying low, or they're suddenly being more private. And some people might do that intentionally, like, ooh, not touching that one, let's just lay low. And other people, it's really just not, it's not a conscious decision. They're just feeling, I've got to spend some more time in nature, or I think I'm going to stay home. I'm going to sit this one out, this gathering. So that's in the air. Now, let's take a look at the aspects. As you can see, it looks like quite a web going on in this one. So the first set of oppositions we see, of course, is to the sun, Cancer, Venus in Cancer, and Mercury in Cancer. So this is where there's always ironies in the chart. What did I just say? Oh, the moon in the 12th house. We don't know what we need. We can't express our emotions very well. Well, but Sun, Mercury, and Venus in Cancer spilling their emotions all over the place. Can't stop themselves. They tried. Cry at the commercials. They're not happy about something. They're like, no, it's fine. And their face is screaming that it's not fine. So this will be an interesting polarity. So we'll have some people that are wanting to bond and be open and close and have an open-hearted discussion, or be affectionate. And then this moon in Capricorn goes, no. So what does that set us up for? Somebody's wide heart's open and transparent and ready to give you a hug, and the other is like, go away, no, I'm not telling you how I feel. It sets us up for some friction, maybe some feelings of rejection, possibly. Now, what is helping the moon is, ironically, we have Mars and we have Chiron. Do you see the blue lines here? Chiron is at 23 degrees Aries. It's still in the sign of the wound to self. It's 23. We still got 7 more to go. We've got a while where we're still going through this period of like, who am I? What is having myself mean? What is being healthy selfish versus actually selfish? Where have I given my power away to people because I don't have a strong sense of myself? That's Chiron and Aries. But the moon is actually making a good aspect to that. And we said here, the moon is just good. Withdrawing, being alone. Chiron in Aries supporting that. Mars and Taurus supporting that. So, you might be able to be more assertive about your privacy, or your time off, or your time away, or your needs to withdraw for a bit, if that's what you desire. Those planets can help you support that. You might just feel like, you know what, if I'm going to stay well right now, I need to be more private or not discuss certain matters for a while. Or I need to not get into this big open heart-to-heart discussion about a matter. I need to pull back for a bit. The Mars and Taurus will be able to tell people firmly and practically and pull back. It'll support that moon, which is wonderful, because otherwise that moon is all alone with all these Cancer planets going, but tell me how you feel. But why are you thinking that? Capricorn moon's like, stop it. Could you just not give a shit? They don't want to feel it. They do feel deeply. They just don't want to share it with you. Now, what else is aspecting the moon? The moon is also squaring off with Neptune. Ouch. Yeah, not so good. As you might have noticed if you're watching my channel a while, Neptune squares are usually to do with self-sabotage or outright deception, sometimes deep, deep confusion. So they're not easy squares. When Neptune squares the moon, you're going to go against yourself without even knowing. You could sabotage yourself without even knowing you're doing it. How? Neptune is at the last degree of Pisces. It's really potent at 29 degrees because It's 50, you see, 29 and 54 seconds. 6 seconds more and it's in Aries and it's changing chapter. But for now, that last little bit of Pisces is super compassionate and sensitive and idealistic and romantic and dreamy. And it's squaring the moon in Capricorn, which usually needs to be very serious and practical. And so going against each other, well, if I had that in my chart with that configuration, I would expect that there's times when I want to put things, people, or situations on a pedestal, and then it comes crashing down when I realize the realities that I'm not getting my needs met. But I put this person or this thing on a pedestal as if it should or it will in the future, and then it doesn't deliver. I might try to mask some of the things that I really should be honest about, that I want or that I'm feeling, because Neptune sort of makes everything fuzzy, and it might be hard for you to either know what you want, what you need, what to say, or if you do know, you might not say it. This is where it's excellent that we have Mars helping it out right now, because this Capricorn moon is being challenged quite a bit by these water signs that want it to like be very hard on your sleeve, tell me everything, you can cry if you want to, kind of. And it's just, it's not going there. It just does not feel comfortable with that expression. This is a really private moon and it's in a private house. And that's how it sees it, you know? They're going to probably have a hard time even opening up to the closest person in their lives. They won't do it until they feel really ready or it's really necessary. Now, is that debilitating for them? Yes. The moon is not in its good place in Capricorn. It's in it. I'm not sure if it's its detriment or its fall, but it's not a good place for the moon. It's very sort of cold and calculating sometimes. And if it's your natal moon, a lot of the time it means you did not have a nurturing as a kid. Nobody, suck it up, kid. Don't want to hear how you feel. Deal with it on your own. Neglect sometimes with that moon in Capricorn, or just like an overly practical, don't want to feel it type of person who's can't hear the dreams and the hopes and the sadness and the hurts. Whereas Sun, Venus, and Mercury in Cancer is like total kindergarten teacher, mama bear, mother, come tell me everything, listens to your tears, listens to you scream, loves you anyway, tries to help you. It's completely opposite, And so the nurturing qualities of all these planets and the want for openness and intimacy, and the Neptune wanting compassion and connection and something maybe even mystical to happen, all pressuring this little Capricorn moon that's just like, go away, leave me alone for now. Now let's see what this next layer of the chart is. Don't you love this? How it's like, there's the moon and it's going. And now we have like, the underlayer aspects that are making a web here, and they start with Pluto. Focus point is moon, focus point is Pluto in this chart. It's crazy. It's so interesting. And the moon, like I said, 12th house, so still secretive, but above the horizon. Pluto is like, I'm below the horizon and I'm subversive anyway. And I'm retrograde right now. And I'm making aspects and I'm making undercurrents that you don't even know about. Let's take a look. First of all, where's Pluto helpful? Well, there's a blue line. It's a sextile to Neptune. Pluto and Neptune are okay together right now. But Pluto's in Aquarius. It's going to dominate Neptune in Pisces. So it's more like Neptune's just chilling along for the ride, not going to cause any waves, not going to cause any problems for Pluto. rebel, the revolutionary. I think we should totally do it a different way. Neptune Pisces goes, ooh, yeah, okay, I could see that. Then Pluto is making a nice trine over here to Uranus and to Jupiter. Jupiter's gone into Gemini for the whole year, folks. Multitasking ahead. Lots of socializing ahead. Many, many projects, many, many ideas, lots of brainstorming. Reinventing yourself, adapting yourself. Lots of it. It's going well with Pluto, so that's a great thing. You can make a lot of changes right now if you get out there and network and meet new people, go to things you don't normally, join things that are new, volunteer, hang out with different people in your neighborhood than usual, invite somebody that you don't normally, like break it up, shake it up, add people, diversify your interests and your crowds. That's what Aquarius wants too. It wants, like, let's just shake off all these Capricorn years. You know, let's get rid of all these top-down models. Let's get rid of all of this worry about status. Let's just be real. Let's just meet whoever I'm connecting with and move on in life. And so Aquarius Pluto wants that. So does Uranus. Well, Uranus and Taurus doesn't like it very much. Even though the planets are going well together, Uranus and Taurus is still going, oh, I hate all this change. Oh, you're making me change. I'm uncomfortable. Okay, I need to change, but I don't like it. But Jupiter and Gemini is like, ooh, bring it on. Bring on the revolution, man. I got friends who will come. Where do you want to do it? At the art gallery or downtown? Let's do it. So that's where the energy is working well. If you feel ready to like shake up, wake up, socialize, just go do something new, that's where it's wonderful right now. Okay. Now, where is it not so easy? Pluto is squaring Mars, as we said. It is also squaring Chiron. Mars in Taurus is very stubborn. It does not want things to be disruptive to their peace, their security, their friendship groups, their job, their paycheck. Don't like it. Don't shake me up. Pluto was like, it's the revolution, man. It's time. It's happening whether you like it or not. So how do you deal with Pluto square Mars? Like I told you, are there things in your life you've been putting up with that you can no longer honestly put up with? Are there things you've been neglecting, procrastinating about, not saying, not doing, that have come to such a max that they need to be done? Because just like, you know, when you go beyond your limits and you won't take a rest, and then life says, oh, we're going to like put your back out because you need to rest. Well, universe doesn't sit there and go, you know, but that tends to be what happens, right? We know when we're overdoing it, life gives us these lovely lessons where it says you must be flat on your back with a cold because you're not resting and not listening to your needs. So you can do that if you want with this resistance with Mars and Pluto. But oh boy, the price that we can pay for not allowing yourself to get angry about stuff. Does it mean you have to do something about it right away? No, I really don't believe that. I used to think that. I used to think as soon as I was in touch with something that was true, I had to act on it right now, or it was somehow, I don't know, you'd missed the window or it wasn't being true. Now I am much wiser, of course, for many years. And it's like, no, you can acknowledge something and start working on it. You don't have to act rash. Sometimes you just need to be, you do need to be honest with yourself and maintain that honesty so that your actions going forward match where you want to go. You know, let's say you've been frustrated at work for a long time. You're trying your best to adapt to your boss. You don't really like them that much, but you need the job, so you keep trying to find ways to get along. And part of you knows you don't get along, and part of you knows maybe you should either leave the job, but you don't feel ready to do that yet. So instead you're in this like uncomfortable in-between space where you're like bargaining, like, oh, maybe if this and maybe if that, and I'll just, go in a little earlier or skip having lunch so I avoid them, or I'll do this so that they see who I am, or whatever you're doing to cope with a situation that's not happening, that's not very nice for you. So Mars Pluto comes along June 10th to the 21st, and maybe your anger about it and your outrage and they might ask you to do something, and now you're like, out of nowhere, you just feel this, well, no. And they're like, what? You always please me and dance around me. And you're just suddenly like, no. That can happen. Or you might finally say, so furious here. I don't feel respected here. It's time for me to go. So now what do? Well, you use that anger. You made your decision, and now you still have to start looking for another job. You don't have to quit that day. Most people can't. You just need to be honest about what's making you angry without making, hopefully, too much drama in the meantime. And you get clear, because Mars Pluto has the strongest combination of will you will ever get. So trust me, if you decide today I'm going to quit smoking under Mars Pluto, you will. If you suddenly feel like I need to travel, that's it. I got to get out of here. And you're that determined under this influence, you will do it. So if you don't get in touch, excuse me, stuff in my eyes. If you don't get in touch with what you're angry at about your life, with what you feel is not working, it's not fair, or you've been suppressing, or that you've been putting off, if you don't get in touch with that, you won't have enough gusto to act on it. So this is a big window where you could make some real breakthrough changes. It might just be mental at first, but it will play out. It will play out at some point, because the first change is in here. So the other thing we should mention here is good old Saturn. Saturn in Pisces is going along nicely here with Mercury in Cancer. So that's always nice, because again, it solidifies the Cancer energy. It's being more sensitive and compassionate and understanding and patient and open. It can help you with your words under Mercury in Cancer to maybe not be overly emotional, but still speak in a warm way, speak in a patient and understanding, loving way towards people. Even if you're angry as F, like I just said, you can still feel that, but your words can be gentle and still honest. That would be the biggest challenge of this. However, we can also see Neptune is making squares to Sun and Venus, and to the moon. Neptune's probably the main thing to watch out for here. It's very unconscious, and it's squaring off with how you feel and what you want and what you need. It can cloud it. So when you have these moments under Mars Pluto where you're angry, they are actually a blessing when you're angry. Why? Because how can you not know where you stand or how you feel when you're angry? You're usually pretty clear. You're usually in touch with something true about yourself when you're angry. Neptune, on the other hand, will keep you guessing and wondering and weighing, and maybe it's me. Oh, like you're susceptible maybe to gaslighting with Neptune and Mercury. doubting your reality again because, oh, well, I told them how told them what I wanted to say and they're not understanding. So what happened? Are they manipulating me? Is it me who didn't understand? You know, who's this fall on? And it'll cloud you and put you down the rabbit hole. So do your best to let yourself feel a little frustration and anger because it'll get you honest. Yeah. All right. Let's go to the tarot. All right. So what other insights can we gain about what's going on this full moon? Any other advice? Any other insights? All right. Of course. Ah, the moon card. Is my bleeding suddenly? Ugh, I don't know what I did. Okay. So the moon card. Well, like I said, there's a lot of subversive things going on. People's emotions are not at the surface. They're not conscious. Not like a lot of people are anyway, but this might be a particularly emotional, reactive type of time. And again, just this is even though this is the moon card, it does feel very Neptunian, meaning it's like not clear. What is this gateway exactly? What am I passing into? Is this good or bad? Is this dark or light? I don't know. Who are these guards? What are they guarding? Why is it so dark? What's that under the surface? Why is it lighter under the surface than above? It can be a time of a lot of confusion and a lot of things that are buried or not said, not revealed. And so you don't know the whole truth and you can become very confused and more vulnerable, susceptible. Again, watch for the gaslighting factor. If you start to feel that you are doubting yourself and your reality, doubting the things that you know to be true, going against things that are, you know, are your values, then you go ding, 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 and take a better look at what's going on with that situation. And we've got the Queen of Discs. And as I usually, you know, when she comes up, you can see that she's just not interested in turning around and looking at us. She's busy. This is more like a moon in Capricorn kind of feeling. She's got these huge horns on her. So she has a lot of status. She has a lot of wealth. She's looking out over her lands. She's luxuriating there. She doesn't have to look at us if she doesn't want to. She'd prefer to be alone. She'd prefer to have her little Aries, her little ram deal with you. And he's looking at us like, can I help you? Why are you calling? Oh, you're here again? Kind of attitude. You might find it very difficult to get through to somebody this full moon. And finally, we have King of Wands. Well, this guy's not taking no for an answer, and he's not listening if you say stop, or could you tone it down, or he's just charging in full fire, fully convinced of whatever mission he has. It's about his will and what he feels charged to do, whether he thinks he's charged by God or whether he's got some higher mission or whether it's his own ego, but he is going in there full fire. So what do we expect with the moon and the Queen of Discs and this guy? I mean, take a look at the two of them together. Do they look like they're going to get along? He could, if he's strong enough, he could, I suppose, woo her enough to make her turn around. And he could certainly light her fire, but what are the odds she's going to let him? So I feel that's just one extra aspect. It just confirms what I feel, is that you might be dealing or run into somebody that you would like to be more open, but who is very resistant over this full moon. Maybe that's part of what makes you angry. Maybe there's going to be some things to clear up in that relationship. So I'm going to look at, instead of tarot for your sign, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at where does this full moon fall in your chart? And what does that mean? Since I think this full moon is going to be really potent. So if you are an Aries, this full moon in Capricorn is activating your 10th house. So this means matters of career and reputation. Career and reputation, and possibly authority figures, which could sometimes mean your mom or dad, whichever one was the most dominant. Because the sun is in Cancer and the moon's in Capricorn, this is activating this whole thing about parents, your mom and dad. And, you know, you might find some insight about how you were raised. Hopefully it brings up some open discussion with your family. If it's your career and reputation, then you know, you might find yourself thinking extensively about what that is and what you would like that to be. And how do you get yourself out there more if you would like to be more known? Not every Aries would be, but it's accenting your career, but also your reputation. It doesn't always have to be because of your work, your reputation, right? It's how you're seen in the public eye. And so if you're thinking a lot about how you're perceived or how you're being treated in the public eye, or how much you've achieved and what people, you know, are assessing you by, that's where you might benefit from taking some actions or making some adjustments. And you can't change who you are at the core. So if you have a reputation or people see you a certain way you don't like, we have to really ask yourself, yeah, but is that me? Is that true? You know, is that something about me I should just accept because that's how people see it, and so I might as well embrace it and accept it? That could be a breakthrough moment. But equally, you might say, well, I don't like the way people are perceiving me a certain way lately. Well, that might be because you've been in habits of behavior that you could change without rearranging your personality. So you might just want to put some thought into the bigger picture of how do I want to be seen? How do I want to be known? And put some effort into how you can shift that a little bit. Now, Taurus, the Capricorn moon is in your the 9th house. It's in the 9th house. So this is sort of nice. I would expect some sense of traveling and expansion and learning and opening your mind to different people, places, cultures, methods, reading, taking classes. You know, I have one Taurus friend that I know is a musician who's always done rock and roll, and now he's playing at a yoga studio. So he's transcended into something completely different. Yoga would be very ninth house, you know, Eastern traditions, and something that brings together music and philosophy and even religious aspect, if you wish. So that's just a beautiful way that the ninth house could, this full moon could help you expand your horizons if you let it. It could be very good. And as we said, the moon in Capricorn is supporting Mars in Taurus very well right now. So this is a good time for you to safely expand and break open your bubble a bit more. Could be new friends, could be new classes, could be doing or watching or going to things you've never done that get you to think about the world and yourself in it in a different way. It's got a very nice feeling for you, this full moon. Now, Geminis, you've got Jupiter helping you out all year. So that's excellent. You're going to feel sort of like expansion and blessings and opportunities for a whole year. So I know when Jupiter comes to my sign for that year, that's a time to be taking some risks. However, that moon in Capricorn falls in your 8th house, so that's pretty serious. You know, heavy feelings, heavy issues and feelings. You might be thinking a lot more about deeper topics. Again, the 8th house is sex, death, and other people's money. You might be thinking more about existential things. You might be drawn more to the occult, to spiritual stuff, philosophy, something that helps you understand the world more deeply, because you might feel like your moods are a bit darker, or your thoughts are a bit darker, without being too dark, but you know, you're thinking on the more serious side of life. So let that Jupiter really light you up and help you shake off some of that, you know, or let Jupiter in your sign help you to just walk out the door and talk to more people, ask more people, become maybe better informed. Again, join something where you can talk to people on that level. You need some depth. Otherwise, I would say, Gemini, you'll probably be more in your laying low, pull back, need some time away kind of mode that you go into. Don't let it get too heavy on your heart. Cancers, of course, the moon, the sun, Mercury, and Venus are in your sign. That's helping you out a lot. This is our season. You know, you'll start to feel more like yourself and feel more open, and people are more open to you, and you might have a bit of a glow. And the moon in Capricorn is in your 7th, so it's talking about important relationships, partnerships, marriage, sometimes open enemies. So when I see, you know, the full moon in the 7th house, I'm expecting something heightened when it comes to your marriage or romance. If you have a business partnership, sometimes we don't have either of those. So what group or partnership are you most invested in, without it being your parents? Outside of that, like, do you volunteer somewhere? Are you on a committee? Do you spend a lot of time with your neighbors? Like, because unless it's your marriage or your business partnership, something where there's like a, you know, a deeper intimacy that's implied with that, that's where it might play out. And it just sort of heightens things. It might bring people to you if you're single. It might help things move forward and become more serious if you're dating, or ready to take another step in your intimacy together as a couple. In business partnerships too, it might solidify things, or it could It could, you know, with the challenges to this moon, bring out some problems that have been happening in it. Like it could bring up the deeper things that need to be worked out. If it's like an intimate thing that's established, and if you're single or looking, then it might bring somebody special into your life that and even if it isn't forever, it still might be really nice. I'm not saying flings. I'm just saying sometimes you run into people, you meet people that can really, sometimes you just meet that right person and one conversation changes your life, even if you don't see them again. I've definitely had that. People I remember that I met, you know, traveling or so. There's a potential for something meaningful to happen, to clear the air or deepen the intimacy, or yeah, potent for Cancers. All right, Leos, it's in your 6th house, so that's your health. Capricorn in your health house, excuse me. Capricorn in your health house means your bones and your teeth, the skeleton. And sometimes Capricorn, I think, also can rule. No, it's not the knees. That's a Sagittarius. Bones and the teeth. Well, I thought there was a particular bone, but no. Okay. So bones and teeth. Well, just ask yourself if that's going on with you. Otherwise, 6th house talks about extended family, cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents. It can talk about your pets. It can talk about well, other aspects of your health as well that aren't physical. Sometimes it talks about, since it's ruled by Virgo, sometimes it's talking about your role of service to others. I mean, the 6th house is one of those that's got so many meanings that it's always a bit vague to people, unless if it's your physical health, it's pretty obvious. If something's going on with extended family, it's pretty obvious. But other than that, it's sort of a hard house to, without talking to people one-on-one, to understand. So I would say my gut feeling for Leos with the Capricorn full moon is something more to do with your like extended people around you, which it could mean coworkers, it could mean neighbors. It could mean, it's not siblings, that's the 3rd house. It's like extended family, 2nd, 3rd cousins. You might hear of something going on. You might be wondering whether you should get involved or help or reach out with somebody in like a, you know, like a secondary way, right? Like it's not your primary relationships, it's your secondary usually. And it feels like whatever it is might be important or serious enough that it requires some help, whoever you hear this from. So you're going to have to really weigh whether you want to take that on or not. If you commit, you commit, and if you can't, then you can't, and you have to say so. Virgo, so Capricorn moon's in your 5th house, which is awesome because it's love and romance, creativity. Awesome. It might be that you still want that private factor about the Capricorn moon. Maybe you're going to be meeting people in a private way or online. Private meaning just you're not meeting at a bar. It's a one-on-one, it's a walk. It's a more quiet or introspective type of way you meet the person, or it could be completely online. Creative life, The full moon could be a great time to be doing that if you do any kind of arts or crafts or hobbyist, or you build things. Could be anything if it's your garden. Wherever you put your creative passion, it could be a wonderful full moon for that. And again, I get a feeling you sort of want to do it on your own. Like you don't really want to be doing it in teams. You don't want it to be too loud. You just want to sort of enjoy the activity. Also, like fifth house can bring money in sometimes. So the full moon in your fifth house could bring you in some more money, which would be lovely too. Libras. So this one falls in your fourth house, this full moon. So opposite to the Aries, it's talking about your home. It's talking more usually about the mother, but it's not always, but the parents. But a lot of the time in the fourth house, you're dealing with your actual house, your actual home, your apartment, the people around it. You're talking about the roots of your life, like the stuff going on with your immediate family, stuff going on with well, sometimes the fourth house can be like there's renovations going on right next door or in your own house. Sometimes it can be, oops, secrets just came out about the family. Didn't know that before. Oh my goodness, now I'm confronted with something I have to think about that I never thought I'd have to. The full moon could bring some bonding with family as well. It doesn't have to be bad. It's just that there's all these squares, okay? Like we said, there's somebody that doesn't really want to express or feel around. Somebody's being resistant around us. There's some anger in the air here. So could be coming out within your own four walls, within your, your family that you live with, your roommates or your neighbors. Something could be coming up on that level. So, when Mars and Pluto are there and it deals with family feuds or neighbors, you don't want to really touch that, poke the bear. You want to think that through pretty clearly how you're going to choose to deal with it, because those things can escalate. Otherwise, like I said, the full moon could bring a lot of closeness. It could bring like a heart to heart that you haven't been able to have in a long time. Depends on how we handle it. But I know for a fact that isn't going to happen if people are withholding, withdrawing, silent treatment. Capricorn moon, you just withdraw and just clam up and not say a thing. It only happens if people are open and honest and transparent, like Cancer planets. So do your best to not mediate and be a little more honest and see, does that bring more understanding or depth? And if it's not, and it's bringing conflict, then you want to step back and see what you're going to do about it. All right, Scorpios. Capricorn moon's in your third house. So this is siblings. It's also your neighbors. I love these drinks. I'm not being paid to say this, but I love these gutsy drinks. Anyway. So in the third house full moon, I would expect, because it's the house of communication. Full moon in the communication house. Well, again, it could be like, even though it's Scorpio, you don't like to necessarily open your floodgates very often, but you might, under this full moon, feel compelled to have a deeper conversation with somebody. Otherwise, communication can mean anything. Can mean like a lot of people will develop their mediumship when there are third house, strong planets in the third house or strong transits to the third house. It changes the way your mind works and the way you think and the way you communicate. So you might, Scorpio, be working a lot on your mind, your thoughts, how you say things and when, and the effectiveness of it. And also you might be opening up your intuitive faculties much, much more. And so the full moon in that house might bring you some amazing breakthroughs. You know, like I mentioned at the beginning with my kyanite, with the kyanite and the dreams. I think this would be a wonderful time for you to get something like this that will help open your third eye. Or like I said, the fluorite, helping with your psychic abilities and clearing your aura. Because if you're trying to open your third eye or open your mind to receive and to be more open with people, excellent for that. So I feel the full moon in Capricorn is actually going to help you open up. Even if you feel a little nervous to do it, I feel it's going to help you. It's going to be good for you. Sagittarius, full moon's in your second house. That's money. It's a good sign. Unless you are not careful and you blow money during it. That's the only way. Full moon in my second house, I would expect that there could be opportunities to increase your rates, your salary, side hustle, asking for assistance, loans. You might get it more readily. Again, the only thing, because it's the moon, it's got this feeling of like, ooh, this could be big. And when it's money, well, you don't want to be too emotional about money. Okay, it's a Capricorn moon. It's not too emotional about the money. It might be thinking like 10 years from now, you know. It could be great if you're an investor, if you've got that kind of capital, if you want to be investing. But again, it's just telling me for you, do it, but calculated risks, nothing that feels like gambling it. And by gambling it, it doesn't mean like slot machines and gambling for real. It just means the gambling mindset, which is like, let's see if I can get more. Let's see if I can get more. Where you like deep down, you're like, oh, this doesn't feel so comfortable, but oh, well, here I go. I'm going to risk it. No, calculated risks, calculated investments. Then I think you will see money increase. Could be a grant, could be someone says, yeah, I'll help you do that. Just being discerning about it, not gambling. So Capricorns, the full moon's happening in your first house. So this gives you a bit of a boost, I think, at your sort of lowest time of the year, which is during Cancer. So sort of affirms, gives you a little bit of, pat on the back, or affirms you at a time when you might feel like the energies are not really what you're comfortable with. Full moon in your first house, could bring you into the spotlight a bit. And as we said, Capricorn just doesn't like that much. So if that does happen, you sort of think about, well, how could that be useful for you? It doesn't have to be on your own behalf. It could be on others' behalf. How you handle yourself matters under that, because people are watching. Probably makes you nervous, but they are watching. And based on how you handle yourself in the public eye right now, you might see some positive changes start to happen. Opportunities come, people come into your life if it goes well. If it's not handled so well, you might see people step back and not withdraw everything if but yeah, it's a sensitive thing, the moon. And it's only lasting, a couple of days here. But so if you really don't want to be in the spotlight right now, or you think, oh, I'm not in the right headspace to handle that well, then you might just want to do the laying low thing. It's just a few days. Overall, I feel it's going to push you out of your comfort zone. And it just, like I said, it just depends. How do you handle that? Because people are watching. I keep hearing people are watching, people are watching, people are watching you. Aquarius. So Capricorn moon falls in your 12th house, which is exactly where it is in this chart. 12th house. So it's, you know, it's extremely private, as I said. Wants to withdraw, doesn't really want to open up or reveal. Aquarius doesn't usually want to anyway. So the moon in your 12th house, though, like we said, there's a lot of extra emotional labor that's going on behind the scenes with the moon in the 12th. Maybe you're having trouble, like I said, figuring out what do you like, what do you want, what do you need. Oh. So pay attention to stuff that makes you angry. That's telling you what you value and what needs to change. So I feel a little bit of like a down, for some reason, a bit of a moody down feeling over this solstice full moon, because you're going to want to sort of withdraw into yourself a bit. And if something comes up in one of your very intimate relationships, you'll be talking and talking and talking and talking. There's like a lot of emotional work, like I said, to the 12th house moon, more than most people are willing to do. You know, the 12th house moon kind of person is the one that sticks in the relationship 5 years after most people would have walked away because they're still willing to do the work with the person. So you might be in a situation like that where you're working extra behind the scenes on a certain relationship issue. And finally, we have Pisces, and it is in your 11th house, which is very nice. You might see a real burst of expansion in your social circle. It's the house of community and friendships. And the only thing with this house is that the more you belong in a group, the less you're individual. You're an individual. The more you end up blending with certain things in the group to stay a part of the group. Happens to all of us. Doesn't matter what group. So it's like you have a chance to expand and to hang out more or do more things or join things or be invited more. So just really watch, like, okay, what's the best fit for me? You know, I think all groups require a little bit of suspending yourself to belong. But if you're suspending too much of yourself, if it's going against some very basic tenets of who you are and what you believe is true and your value system, it's not going to be a sustainable fit. But there's an enormous chance to find new things in people and groups that do fit. So I think you particularly need to get out and socialize during this full moon. I think it's going to be very good for you. It's going to connect you to more people and new people, and it feels like it's been a long time since you had this. And I think it's going to be wonderful for you. So, in closing, if you're still here, and I know some of you watch all of it, so thank you. I'm just going to burn some sage. We're just going to do a little cleanse. So I want you to visualize that you've got a halo of white light around your head. Just try to see it everywhere. And just mentally scan and see, like, is it all clean and clear, completely front and back? And just see it glowing. And if there is anything that seems to be not clear, if it looks foggy or there's parts missing, you should just try to use whatever visualization works. If you have to see it in a different format or swirling around or a bubble instead, just keep working with that light until you can get it completely around you, around your head. And this is just a really short meditation. So we're just going to ask Archangel Michael to remove anything in, on, or around us right now, no longer for our highest good. clear our channel, help us receive and act in the highest manner possible with whatever is facing us around this full moon solstice. All right. I wish everybody well. If you need a private reading, you know where to reach me in the comments below or on my website, river-rain.com. Take care.